I've got David on here, but for some reason he's got my personal email, so I don't use the work one, that's my opinion. And then just the end one, is that one? What time?
Who do you tell it?
Oh, God.
Is it?
He'll say, waiting for
Keep in mind the one from the top. Right, okay. Right. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Hexham Town Council here on Monday, the 11th of December 2023 at 6 o'clock in Prior's Hall, Hexham Abbey. So welcome everybody. So first on our agenda, we're going to jump to item number 6, which is to receive a presentation from the Reverend David Glover, the Rector of Hexham Abbey.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very great opportunity to be here and speak to you today. It gives me the chance to say thank you to all that you do, because I think as a councillor you punch way above your weight. And I think you do all sorts of wonderful things in the town. And thank you particularly for the support you gave us for the Museum of the Moon, because that enabled us to have the confidence to go ahead with that. I think that proved to be an extremely successful. Well, it was extremely successful for us as an abbey, but I think also for the town. And I don't think you'd have done it without that initial thing. I mean, the total cost was about 20,000. We just wouldn't have the confidence to have done that had we not had that initial boost from the council. So thank you. I hope that proved successful for all sorts in the town. It was much appreciated, your thoughts on that. I wanted to sort of say something about the Abbey's joys and challenges. I think it's important to realise that the Abbey is a place of national importance, and it's recognised that as that. It's one of the oldest Christian sites in the country, if not in Northern Europe, and contains a scheduled ancient monument, because we have the crypt in the Abbey, and it goes right back to St Wilfrid, which is only in the 7th century. It's the very earliest, really, beginnings of Christianity in the country. After the Romans had gone, they brought it to begin with, but then it had been lost. And so this church and this abbey, and therefore this town, contains something very rich and of great national importance and of national attraction. It has a national and some sort of international reach. So even when I go abroad and say I'm from Hexham, from Hexham Abbey, you know Hexham Abbey, a little bit. Yeah. So I think that's an important thing for us just to celebrate. It helps, not the only thing, it helps to make Hexham a tourist and cultural destination. And I think that's an important thing for us. And next year the Abbey celebrates its 1350th anniversary, and as well as celebrating the Abbey's history, we also have the way of celebrating Hexham's life, because the origins of Hexham are so closely tied up to the origins of the Abbey, to Wilfrid building choosing to build the Abbey here on the land granted to him by St Ethelbreeda. So that seems an important year next year, 2024. The Abbey is always keen to develop and build on partnerships within the town and the region and nationally, and we recognise that we do have facilities to host significant cultural and commercial and artistic events, and we're keen to develop strong partnerships for the benefit of the town and the wider region. Not only is the Abbey a great venue, but obviously the buildings that we managed to procure in 2012 and now use widely are also a great boost to us. And it's always our hope, especially if the finances commit, that they become more and more widely available as a kind a way of sharing the resource that we've got. We are determined to maintain the Abbey's strong presence in the town, and we recognise here a responsibility to try and make sure the Abbey is open as much as possible to be an attraction to the town, especially for summer months. That might seem an obvious thing to do, but the Abbey is also, in one sense, just a parish church. And most parish churches up and down the country are simply locked apart from on Sundays. And our determination is to make sure the Abbey is kept open, because we recognise that during the week it is, certainly for the summer months, a major tourist attraction, bringing people in. And so we want to recognise that commitment to the wider life of the town, as well as wanting the Abbey to be there and open anyway. But our biggest challenge, you might not be surprised to hear, is a financial challenge. I just thought it was worth saying something about the financial challenge that we face, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding often around the kind of challenges that are faced by churches. The Abbey has been struggling over the last decade or more, really, to manage a large structural deficit. And last year, the Abbey was in the red to the tune of £170,000. And on top of that, the cost of the depreciation is calculated the orders as a further £100,000. So it's a colossal loss for us to make. And that loss really is part of our life. It has part of our life for about the last 10 or 12 years, with the exception of, especially after the COVID years, where we managed to secure a very large COVID recovery grant. And that really helped to sustain us and given me a chance, coming in as rector, to turn around our financial fortunes. But even in the almost 4 years I've been here, we've already spent £900,000 on repairs to the building. These are colossal figures that we're having to manage all the time and each year. They're frightening. They're frightening figures really to manage. Heating and lighting insurance alone costs the Abbey in excess of £100,000 a year. So again, it's a big figure. The Abbey has reserves, but which would help us to tackle that structural deficit, but these will be exhausted within about 3 or 4 years if we don't get things right. So we've got to try and get them right, which is what I'm working hard at trying to achieve. Contrary to much speculation, the Abbey receives no funding whatsoever from the government, with the one exception of gift aid, which of course all charities benefit from. That's the only thing. And we get no support whatsoever from the central church. So we are on our own. We are by ourselves in this. We have no external support. We have to raise everything to pay for the Abbey, either locally, which is by far the majority, or through grant applications. We do make significant grant applications, and we rely on those to try and fund, especially some of the big external works. But they're not guaranteed. For example, the biggest work we did last year on the east end of the church, we got grants for about 80,000, but the total cost was 200,000, and that had to be met by our reserves. That's why it was such a massive loss that year. Our main source of regular income come from the congregation and other giving. The congregation gives around about £120,000 a year to our training activities, our cafe, our shop, fundraising events. The Christmas fair was amazing on Saturday, thanks to you mainly for promoting such a big influx into Hexham. Grant applications and income from tourists. We're trying to increase income from tourists. Income from tourists currently stands at around about 45p per visitor. That's the kind of amount that people donate when they come. In order to really survive and thrive, we need to get that up to sort of around about £4 per visitor. That's our kind of figure that we would need. With odd exceptions, we are determined to keep the Abbey without a charge to enter the Abbey. We did make an exception of that for the moon, but that was an exception. Although we have introduced charges for some other things, so we do now charge for entrance to the crypt as a way of trying to meet some of that deficit. finance therefore continues to be a major challenge to us. The Abbey has a volunteer base of approximately 160 people, which is fantastic. And probably about half of those are regular members of the congregation, but half are not. They come in because they're interested in the cultural life, the historical life, and they include people of faith and people of no faith and people of other faiths. And that's, I think, a really brilliant thing that we have. It's a joy that we have that, and a constant challenge as well to make sure we have got enough volunteers to staff the Abbey. We estimated that if we were being paying the staff that were required when we had the Museum of the Moon, if we'd been paying the minimum wage, would have been a bill of around about £20,000. So that was the kind of amount that volunteers really contributed in terms of just finance. But of course, they also contribute wonderfully in terms of their local knowledge, their expertise about the historic buildings, their welcome of people into the Abbey. The Abbey has some hugely significant historical artifacts, which I think we often might take for granted, but they are rich and amazing, and we have an amazing archive here where absolutely everything has been catalogued to the kind of standards that even the British Museum are quite impressed by. So that's partly because we've got people who sort of worked in such places who are volunteering now on part of our volunteer base. But it is an amazing repository of some wonderful Roman stones, of course, the Saxon crypt, wonderful medieval panels that we've got, and we are looking next year to a big and significant Heritage Lottery bid to try and display our treasures much better, to make the visitor experience much better. Many visitors come and don't even notice the medieval panels, for instance, because they're not very well lit and they're in need of significant restoration. And so we are going to try to make a significant bid for that. We've had an initial bid set back slightly, but with some good advice as to how we might go forward. And we hope that will further enhance the Abbey as a tourist attraction, a place of bringing visitors, which again we hope will be a knock-on effect to the life of the town, which is part of our deep hope. I am personally hugely grateful to the support the Abbey receives from the council and from the town. I reiterate how keen I am to be a player in the town and to work in partnership in whatever way we feel we can. And wherever we can make the Abbey available for free, we will. So things like the environment fairs, charitable things that people do, we want to try and make that a resource that is available to people to use the Abbey. We want people to feel that the Abbey is theirs. It was wonderful, I think, a little bit following the Museum of the Moon, really, that on the light opening, when the lights were switched on, the Abbey was absolutely packed with people coming in for hot chocolate and things. And it was just great that people felt that it was their space to be able to use. And all those partnerships we would really welcome requests for those things. Would have to be managed into the diary and where we can do things, but we want to be partners with the town. I think that's really what I wanted to say for now, and I'm very happy to receive any questions.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised to hear that you say that there's access to any funding from the Church of England. I'm just wondering what happens to the Church of England money that it has.
Well, the Church of England gives its money to the mainly to grants. So the Church of England does provide grants, which do filter down some way to the Abbey. So, in the sense that every clergy person in the Church of England, part of my stipend is funded by the Church Commissioners. There are grants that the Church of England uses to fund clergy. So it uses its money in all sorts of ways to fund those posts.
But not the building.
But not the building itself.
And that's across the whole Church of England.
Yes, I mean, the commissioners do directly fund cathedrals. So cathedrals do get quite a significant allocation from the central church. But we're not a cathedral, although we're a cathedral proportioned building. And we operate in many ways like a cathedral, and it's what we do, but we don't, unfortunately, we don't at the moment attract that funding from the central church. So if we were going cathedral, we were probably getting, I don't know, something in the order of probably 1.2 million from the commissioners. But we don't get that as a main, as a
and then if you get to your 4-year time when you say that you're run out of reserves, what happens then?
Well,
Will the value out there?
well, we're desperate not to get to that place. And the reason we've been able to survive so far is we do get requests. It's the requests that have actually enabled the Abbey to survive these last 10 years, but of course they're not guaranteed. And we haven't had a big request for some years now. But my determination is we don't get to that point, that we do find ways of funding ourselves. There is some talk at national level about how major churches like Hexham Abbey could be funded centrally a little bit more, not funded, but a little bit more. But there's no indication that's going to happen. Yeah.
I just want to build on Alison's point. It really disappoints me that the central church, with all its resource, all its vast amount of land, are not able to fund and help fund the Abbey itself, particularly when you talk about its wider community use. For me, it's just astonishing. I also think the Abbey have not joined in as much as it could have done. The anniversary of the marketplace at the time, 800 years, when all that was going on, all the pavements outside the Abbey was very shoddy. I know that's been subsequently resolved now. But I do think the Abbey historically has been seen to be a little bit fuddy-duddy. I'm not anti-church, I'm not anti-Abbey. Tom and I participate in the nativity players. There's typecast two wise men. But I do think...
You have to do the doggy, in the back.
You're on the back of the night, and running with the folks. Yes, very much the back and after the front. I do think that the Abbey image within the town and embracing those, what I believe as non-worshippers, could be far greater. It's not a specific criticism, but engaging people who perhaps are not natural churchgoers into the Abbey would be a great benefit to it. That's just a snapshot of my view.
Yes, well, I'd be grateful if the ways in which you might do that better, and I do appreciate it's not always been done well. We're really keen that the Abbey is a resource and a welcoming space for the whole community.
An example of that would be the warm spaces, where there was different churches, the community centre, Trinity Church, that operated one day and went to the Abbey and they declined.
Well, that's not true, actually. So that was a big piece of misinformation, because in fact we've been by far the most successful warm space. What we didn't want to do was allocate any specific room to warm space. We wanted to allocate a part of the Abbey to warm space. And so we've been well used as a warm space at the back of the Abbey, because we've been open every day, with all the other warm spaces actually didn't work very well. Whereas the Abbey was entirely successful in, and we have lots of families come in and use our space at the back. So that was a real piece of misinformation, which I'm quite cross about, because we didn't get down the route because we didn't see it was going to work to actually designate a room as warm space.
Did you relay that information to the wider community?
Absolutely, it's been very well, and it's been well used, really well used. So that kind of misinformation is irritating, I think.
Okay. I'll bring that in.
Yeah, no, I would agree. We heard that the two spaces that were well used that we had were number 28 Community Centre, because of the round the clock, and that you came on the back of that as well, and you have the homework club alongside. So I did hear subsequently that your space was incredibly well used at that time for different reasons and to different purposes. I was also shocked to hear about the Abbey's finances. I mean, I know the Catholic Church probably is very well funded, the Church of England is less so. So I did have a suspicion that there was something going on there. And that suspicion came about when we were looking at the floodlights. And then since then, I've heard, obviously, that your finances since the event of the moon have been better, a lot better. So I'm really pleased that that contributed in quite a big way to you feeling like you've got the confidence to do more of that, open it up to all denominations and run events like that can help you make your event, your finances healthier. So I'm really pleased to have heard that and have been a part of getting the funding for that. I mean, presumably, as there is no grants like there are from government for museums and art galleries, in a way, then you really maybe should be charging some kind of token amount for the museum, for instance, as well as the crypt. I mean, it worries me that is the case because I would like it to be free for all. That's very much how I feel. But certainly, if it's not working for you, then you have to in some way recoup these costs. And we're certainly really keen to help you with the event next year, with the community engagement for the anniversary of the Abbey, if that's going to help as well. So I would say that most of us are quite saddened to hear about this and would like to get on board with a better partnership going forward, really.
Well, I think part of it is the grateful opportunity to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I think we are keen for the Abbey to be open without charge, but there may be certain aspects of it which aren't. I mean, nobody can say, well, I can't get an experience of prayer or an experience of the aesthetics of the building without going down the crypt. I mean, you could, that is an extra, and so we would say that's something where we can charge for, and we probably will make around about £35,000 this year from the crypt charges. So that's that's new money for us, and we need to find. And we've also started producing a guided, just a leaflet, the booklet, which is a guided tour around the Abbey. And again, we think that might generate around about £25 per year. So it's those sort of figures that we are relying on to just try and build some, which are not then alienating people who just want to come in and sit and use the space, or those who. I mean, it's interesting with the Museum of the Moon. We did some research that the parish church, I won't mention which church it was, but they had the moon, and they decided not to charge anything. And the average giving that they got from that was 13 pence. And if we'd done that here, it would have brought in an income of around about £3,500. We made a massive loss on it. So I think as soon as you say something's free, then people don't give very much. I think that's you've got to find some ways of finding value in other ways. Really, I think so. But,
yeah, I just want to state from my experience, the Abbey is a dream ground in Hexham, and I think we should support as much as we can. I mean, when I moved here, that was like, 14 years ago. The Abbey was alive already then, in my opinion, because you had the Library Summer Reading Challenge, prize giving, the place full of children, and it wasn't a service, it was a town event that was held in the Abbey because it was a good public space. Same thing about the Hexham Net Zero Fair. We've had fantastic feedback from people, and it was thanks to the Abbey for letting the town council run this event for free in the Abbey. Fantastic, and you said yes straight away, so it was just such a nice thing to do. Kath Newton was here telling us all about next year's events, not just one, it's loads, and I've already started talking to her about how we can do stuff with the Abbey. So there's open arms really. I think, and the other thing is Carol service speaks for itself, doesn't it? The 23rd and is it the 22nd of December? You've had to increase your number by another one just because so many people want to be part of it. And in a sense that it's a church event, but it's also a free event that invites anybody to take part, which is wonderful, I think. So.
Trevor, you have a question?
Well, as a former client, and you mentioned about £900,000 over the last 4 years. Was that included? Did you get that money? Was there not grants associated with that?
Oh, yes, it's not, that's not all been possibly. No, not at all. I'm just trying to sort of
Yeah.
show what the kind of costs.
What about the is how much of the sort of, I mean, you always want to get one, you buy the bricks or something, so you have to replace it, but like that's 15 grand a year. How much would you say are ongoing maintenance costs yearly, as opposed to, the one-off costs that might incur, which, that's why you probably have, I see you for contingency reserves here going.
Yeah.
So how much would be ongoing?
We set aside about £100,000 beyond your
100,000.
maintenance costs.
Okay. So if everything over and above that, it would be sort of the one-off costs that you need
That's right.
hopefully like grants for,
Yes.
or hopefully reserves
Yes.
a lot of money then.
The insurance, that's on top of that. Heating and lighting is all on top. We've been very fortunate.
So it's like hitting that on top of £100,000.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, it is a big figures. I mean, we've been fortunate in that we've been locked in largely to tariffs that have not massively impacted us in the last couple of years. But we will face those coming in this unfortunate coming in Q4, so we will be back into the market. Yeah, those are. Yes, I think it's going to drill down the exact figures.
Okay, go on then.
Other institutions, I would imagine, have the same problems as yourself if not funded. How have they coped with it? Opening it up to a younger audience, I'm not suggesting we have heavy metal as one or two people might want to suggest, but opening it up to concerts and having it as a venue for everybody, is that something that you've looked at? And
It's also something we're looking at, something we're doing, very much so. So that is very much the line we've gone down. So in this last year, we've had a Pink Floyd concert, we've had we've got the whole students, we've got the National Film Orchestra.
Yeah.
We've got G4 coming in Christmas. We've got
The arms.
we've got the other things. So these are all really big things for us. So I think that brings in a whole new audience, of course, because it also helps us to finance. That is a big world in which we are approaching.
the national, the museum heritage aspect of it.
Yeah.
Having dealt with it specifically, that could be a huge earner for you in terms of the National Lottery and Heritage Lottery Fund.
Yes.
In particular, is very fond of churches and what they do. That could be a huge asset in terms of resource, but in terms of raising money,
Yes.
of charging people to come in to look at specific things.
Yes, certainly in terms of we want to be a big grant. We're looking for a big grant to try and improve the visitor experience at the main. The big grant, perhaps, probably 10 years ago now, to do this part of the work.
Yeah.
But is that visitor experience is the main part of the grant into get a big grant for? Whether we're being charged for it or not.
Yeah, that's not
Charging to get into a church is always fraught with a lot of emotional and it's difficult for us because part of a lot of time it is about the heritage, but in the end there is still a church, and it's just trying to get that balance right. It's a tricky one.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just wrap up there. So David, thank you for coming. I think this has been the most enlightening explanation of how, you know, such an enormous building and establishment as Hexham Abbey is. I always think Hexham Abbey is probably bigger than what the town is. You know, it's huge, you know, it's just like huge, so huge. You know, being in a fairly limited sized town. And obviously, it dominates the area for so many hundreds of years. You know, it's you know, put Hexham on the map, having an abbey such as this, and you know, we all recognise that it has such a dominant physical structure, but also quite an emotional one and a religious one, of course, over all those years. And it's like all roads lead to the marketplace Hexham Abbey, don't they, for the whole of time. I think the points made by City Council as well have said, you know, that Abbey maybe hasn't been as outreach as they could have been. That's certainly criticism I've had over many years of that, and not an observation, seeing the criticism, but it's been an observation and over many years. I just felt as though it was like kind of insular and not really outreaching as much as it could. However, I do feel that has been a bit of a sea change, and it is much for the positive. Certainly, you know, I think the stance of this town council is that, you know, if you're going to do things such as the Museum of the Moon, you know, it fits with what we are trying to do. As in, you know, it's democratising, it's, you know, bringing such an amazing event to the town that attracts lots of people, and that all fits with our vision and objectives. So, you know, us providing that donation, I think we were, you know, we did have a debate about it. I must say there was some really interesting debate about, you know, it should be like this, should be like that. And, you know, and we had that debate, and you know, we decided that was the right course of action. And actually, and only after it's took place and you've seen it, you've seen the process and then the outputs, do you go like, actually, I don't know, worried about that was such a good decision, like, for us to contribute that money, then you obviously to take a big risk and actually, you know, undertake such a big undertaking, and it's been fantastic. And I do hope, I know there's a Museum of the Earth that does the rounds. I hope maybe, you know, that could be something you might want to consider.
Yeah, our plan is to
Yeah.
go with that in 2025.
Fantastic.
I think that would be another
Yeah.
big thing. And I do take your point that the Abbey has over the years been sometimes quite insular. I think that's up.
Yes.
I just wanted to try and say that's not.
No. And you can tell that, David, you know, it's really, you can just feel that this change, you know. Certainly, the presentation by Cass Newman, you know, all the events there was like outside in the marketplace, you know, and that again shines hugely with what we want to do and try to do, you know, it's like matches what we did with the 800 years of the market. So the more, you know, we see that, the more we want to join with you and you know, become that, you know, and, you know, obviously the Abbey, its first objective is religion, of course it is, but it is the biggest space. And I think it's just fantastic, you know, and I feel there's other churches around the country where they are doing this big cathedrals and what have you, are doing exactly the same, bringing events such as music events and you've got a hard job, as in, like, you know, just to try and make the place run, and just waiting for handouts, it probably isn't sufficient, you know, that is something there. But if you can be dynamic and bring these things in and people have events there, everybody wins, because people are coming to the Abbey. It's not just sitting there idle, it's actually being performed. And I mean, it's a beautiful setting. Acoustics are fantastic. So, you know, it's just wonderful that you've gone down that route, and, you know, all power to your arm. You'll be, you know, hugely supported by the council on that route.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you
Very much. And I do appreciate the questions you've made and the challenges you have. I'm up for those challenges, you know. And I'd much rather you just came straight to me and said what's happening than not know or wonder.
Yeah.
I'm really, really keen.
So I think the takeaway for you really is if you know, when you've got your big plans for next year is get us involved, get the community partnership involved, and all the volunteers that we all know and got relationships with, and you know, and we want to be part of it. You know, we really want to be part of it. That it's a whole town event that we celebrate. You know, this dominant structure at Hexham Abbey.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Really good. Thank you.
Good. So that should be interesting. Right, so now we go back to the agenda, and it's item number 1, where we will hear the council will hear questions from Hexham residents regarding matters on the agenda or relating to Hexham. Do we have a speaker?
So what's your name?
Name, please.
Even waste the council's time.
I've got that main season yet.
But I repeat the question I was asking last week, and where it said that technical drains had been cleaned, but inspection today and around the town, they don't look as if they've been cleaned at all. And I saved me wasting your time in the future. I appreciate if someone could ascertain when they were cleaned last, and is there some planned maintenance scheme for them to be done at a regular interval? And I think it would benefit the community as such, that the roads are reasonably clear and not flooded, because the water runs down the banks of the road and it's chopped comes through and splashes everyone. So I'd be grateful if you could ascertain some dates then, and may call this the last time I may.
Yeah. So the system that I have is largely one of like reporting when you get done. You know, the new system fits my street.
Well, I've got dates where it says fix my street, and it must be over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There's been nothing done.
I think it should be called report my street rather than fix.
Yeah, but the lady at the last meeting said that showed some photographs where the West Road was supposed to be clean. Well, I had to walk along today and the drains are all full, like, you know. So, so I would appreciate if you could find out if there's some planned maintenance scheme and that. And body anymore.
Yeah, so the God was one of, you know, report and fix.
Yes, I've tried that also, but I appreciate there's lots of things.
Yeah, we'll speak.
But it's just as a member of the public, trying to keep the town with a very high standard of this. I just feed you these bits of things.
That's welcome.
And I get to rent the toilets done next week. Yeah. That's not for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. Right, we shall get that up in the right. Item 2.
Apologies for the being received from councillors Grennan, Ward, O'Farrell and Bett.
Good. Declarations of interest, anyone?
None.
Right to agree the minutes of the full council meeting held on 13 November 2023. So let's go through those. Page 2, page 3, page 4. I'll bring the one on PC 79 water quality. So a couple of councillors have been had a discussion just about exactly what the question is. There's been contact made with Northumbria Water, and they've asked for specifics of what the question is being placed to them, just so they can get the right people to come. So Jane has replied, so that should get the right people to come in. So we'll get the proper experts from Northumbria Water to talk about you know, the water quality that we wanted to get. So that's in hand. Anybody else, anything from those minutes? Anything to say?
Just for information, Derek, when are we going to talk about the budget?
Next month.
Thank you.
So that was five arriving, 5 matters arriving not on the agenda for report only. Good. Maybe not. Daily announcements. So we had the Lantern Parade, which went very well. We had a new band there. Started at the bandstand and then sneaked its way through. The road closure was involved in that because it was a parade, and that went very well. So congratulations to Hexham Community Partnership on putting that one on. The 24th of November was the Christmas light switch on, which ended up being hugely popular. The biggest turnout I've ever seen, and by considerable margin. So we had the Hexham Community, the Hexham Middle School Orchestra at the bank. There was a disco, Santa at the bank. There was a Prudhoe band bank, and I think the lights are spectacular in the town, and the tree being coloured just gives a lovely contrast, and those lights on the bridge just really make a fantastic difference to the town. So I think particular thanks must go to Councillor Suzanne Felix-Aiken for leading on that and doing a fine job, because it looks really good. So we look forward to more next year, Suzanne.
So much more.
Top it, yeah.
Oh, I've got my blood gun, like, ready to fire it up.
The 29th of November was the Penny Grennan launched the Book of Objects in Hexham Library, so it was nice to attend that. I took a copy of Extravaganza, which was a Monopoly kind of based game that was issued in 1991. And it's actually interesting when you open that up and you find that it's actually like a photograph in time. It's got all the Robs is there, and obviously just different organisations that have come and gone. Some that are still there, like stick around. There's chip shop still being there, but it's really interesting to go Gojo Video, and you're thinking like, oh God, everybody used to go to Gojo Video, but obviously DVDs took over, and then digital. So you can think the march of time through all of this. Not saying all good, but then it's a fascinating thing to look at. And obviously there was lots of people there, and all that different things. So it was really well done and supported through the Heritage Action.
Is the bus station operational, Mr. Matt?
It wasn't on the.
It never is now, is it?
Yeah. That wasn't on the thing. I think what was very interesting was Hexham Town Council was not on that. I thought that was fascinating, actually. The Tiny District was on there again. Organisation that's but interesting that was. Right. Corbin Homes held an event in this very room, which myself and Suzanne Felix-Aiken attended. Really interesting. meeting that they're having a bit of a different step. It looks a positive step forward. So we got to meet some of their housing officers. There was also people from Number 28 and various other organisations who attended as well. So it was a really good get together and actually just listening to, what's going on. We talked about the Hexham Middle School, the ambitions that we'd like to see that be affordable social housing on there, which would, increase their offer. Similarly, we talked about the old Hexham police houses, how that's just an abandoned site, and how that is another opportunity that could be, exploited. And so there is opportunities there. So we really had a good chat about particularly the two sites being very important. Obviously, there was the big Christmas fair in Hexham, which again was hugely popular. The town was absolutely, full of busting, and I think even one of our traders here, Councillor Smith, was saying she had that biggest ever day.
It did.
Yeah.
I mean, the feedback from the business group in positive. Everybody was very busy and just about just watching the constant stream of people and all that. I've never seen it. I've never seen a constant stream like it yet. But it's ask you a good question. How do we gauge numbers? What I said, like Saturday was really busy. Bonfire night was really busy because it's nice, but Sean was busy. Do we have a means of, or do we just do we just get a feeling?
I used to receive for, I think it was years rather than months ago, football estimates for Hexham, but I can't remember who did.
It was the county council. They used to have a foot plans. Or was it? They used to have like a monitor in the.
Subplans certainly did something.
Yeah, had a monitor. Because probably you remember that when I had foot plans, I had measures in the marketplace, but I had that device that measured.
Yeah, it was only for specific events.
Specific events, specific things. Not a permanent fixture.
We're just going to get a feel.
Yeah. It's your cash register. So there we go. So busy time. So hang on. So it's still the dressing up stage of season. So I've got the Santa to do next on Sunday at the community centre. There's still huge amounts of events still going on. I know the community partnerships had a big list of all the events, and it was like off the page how many things are on there. But I'll bring it.
I just want to say, I've got the lights, very nice, but can you tell us what exactly happened with the ones on Abbey Park, please?
In there.
The steel part, yeah.
It's we call the Sea Park.
They told me all the time.
Yeah.
Right, the Abbey Park ones, we're working on the test that it was done in October, and then we had 2 lots of high winds. It was 2 lots of high winds, and then the week before they went on as well. That's in fact the same week. So they were turned on a Friday morning, along with the new bandstand lights and the festoon lights and all the new stuff there, and they fused. They were just not happy, and so the decision was taken to pull them down. They're quite old, well, for what they are, for where they are outside all the time, they're old. So the decision was taken to unplug them, to plug in the rest of the lights on the bandstand and round, and sadly they are no more. But that's what we're hoping to replace next year. The festoons are still going well.
So intention to replace.
Oh, definitely. In fact,
it's going to
I know it is, and if it was any earlier, if it had been any earlier, we'd known that they were down, we would have made an effort to replace them instantly. But because it was literally the week before and the fusing that the company.
So they're definitely all right,
It was it was October, before the rains in the half terms, it was beginning of October, they came out and did a test run as they were fitting them. And so that was, and that they were fine then. But then as I say, we had lots of.
We pay for them,
No, they were ours. They were ours.
yeah, we pay for the switching on and checking and this and that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah, Acorn do, they switch ours on, but then they weren't working.
So when are we going to take them all off the trees and bin them and get to the set?
I think we'll have to, yeah. Well, yeah, for next year, definitely.
With a little bit of slack because the trees growing. That's one of the problems.
Well, yeah, we've got to cut them off carefully, and they are blue lights anyway, which is actually not fitting with our dark skies policy for insects living on the trees. So in a way, we were going to sit it out. I had this conversation with various councils earlier in the year about waiting for them to die rather than replacing them as was, and fortuitously, or maybe not, they died just before the light switch on. So they will be being replaced next year. It's going to be lovely. We've got ideas already from Paul Goddard Gala, who's borrowing some ideas from Harrogate, which is quite exciting. So I've seen some of those already. So, yeah, so the park will be very lovely.
Who dressed the tree back then, the big tree?
Me. No.
Yeah, whatever. I need them, did you?
Very much.
I don't dress the tree, the very good job.
I'll pass that on. They're a big team for that. I mean, they're national level, and Blanche Airlights on the best. So, I expect no less. They do a good job. So.
No, I think everybody I've heard said relates, the jump up in quality and the number has been spectacular this year. Obviously the entrance to the bridge, so obviously there's people who were like, yeah, put those lights up so when you're stuck in your traffic jam, you should go for the lights to look at. But it's a joke, of course. I think seeing the shambles wrap, I think you also get that tremendous reflection from the windows and the shops, so it actually makes it even more brighter and it's just fantastic.
Well, I also, to come back to Joe's point, I would really like it if businesses in the town who feel that this does benefit them in some way, would like to maybe come forward and sponsor some of the lights in the park. That would be super helpful. And I'm really, it'd be, nice, especially the ones that face this and get a benefit. It would be really good. So I would like that as well next year.
Yeah, no, it's always pretty amazing. What a step. Good. Right, so that's the mayor's announcements. Right, from number 8 is to agree the council P. So we look at page 6. I'll just mention, you'll see there we've got Octopus Energy halfway down the page there, just for people's clarity, is that we're retaining Octopus Energy as our energy supply. We just tick the boxes for us. That's positive. Page 7. You'll see there again halfway down on page 7 that the instalment of the refurbishment of the pavement and cemetery gates is now taking place. So obviously that's been a long and important piece of work to do, because obviously they were very rusted and dinted and all sorts of stuff. We've been hit that many times, but actually they look back to where they should be now. So that's a really positive thing that we've got over the line. Obviously, we've had to put a considerable sum toward them, but we did get around about 50% grant toward them as well. And page 8. Okay, everybody content? Page 9, that's the mayor's allowance and the income on page 9 there also. Okay. All right. Item number 9, so to agree the calendar for 2024 as per our normal sequence. It'll be the second Monday of the month, with the annual meeting of the council on the 13th of May. Also. Are we content with that? Book goes in. Good. Item 10 is the draft minutes, meeting held in November. So we have on page 10, community engagement.
I was just saying, yeah, that's the name.
Yeah. There was a debrief on the fireworks event that went really well, and how much money was collected, and we believe that was enough for us to continue into the fireworks event for 2024. So it's more positive. Page 11, Christmas lights on there, we spoke about. And page 12, where we had the Peace Walk and after the Remembrance Sunday as well. We received those. I was in contact with the mayors of Metzingen and Mono, where we received those. Some commentary from both of them. It's nice to keep our contacts with them. Page 13, the Finance and General Purposes Committee. So there's discussion on the budget there, and that will be coming to the council in January. Page 14, the Planning and Infrastructure Committee. Okay. Page 15 and page 16, and the Finance and General Purposes Committee there on page 16, where there was an emergency meeting just to get that one over the line, just because just a few things that needed to be they agreed for the budget, so that was fine and constituted. On page 17, sorry. And number 11,
Right, so the last meeting council received correspondence on the following. Now e-news and events and the NELC Chief Executive's Bulletin, CAN e-news and CAN Renewable Energy and Carbon Reduction Roadshow, Northumberland CVA Voicing Bulletins, temporary traffic regulation orders relating to Elverston Road, Eastgate and Aylmouth Road, the Chrysalis Club November newsletter, the Thriving Together newsletter, the invitation to the West Northumberland Sports Awards held on 7th of December, the results of last year's Housing Needs Survey, the Hexham Art Club exhibition currently on until the 17th of December at the Old Jail, positive behaviour support awareness sessions provided by Signet Healthcare, an invitation to the performance of Snow White at the Queen's Hall tomorrow on the 12th of December, the Northumberland Local Plan and Open Space Assessment, the December events in Hexham listing, winter vaccinations from Northumbria Healthcare, an NCC request to help promote how poisons affect wildlife, particularly regarding hedgehogs in the Seal area, questions from a local resident regarding the ongoing public works in Hexham, and the Healthcare Northumberland cost of living model.
Good. All right, that's the end of the event. So obviously that's the end of the meeting. So I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and we are all going for a well-earned drink for all your hard work.